Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Midnight Therapy. I am your host, Kat Matthews. Welcome to the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March. March 15th is a Sunday. You know the classic warning. Shakespeare, Caesar, middle of March, the Ides of March. How fitting. It seems like that is an ominous warning, even by today's standards. And fact and fiction are very blurred. So it's kind of hard to tell what's real and what's fake anymore. But I do think the warning from that ancient play still holds true for some reason. Something seems odd about this month and what's going on. And I think there's reason to beware. Also, it was Friday the 13th this past week on Friday, and that was the anniversary of the COVID lockdowns of 2020. Remember that? I remember that. I remember it because I was a senior in college, and I thought I would see my friends after a week, after spring break, and I never saw them again, and then we entered a dystopian wasteland that forever changed the country and the world. It was also the same time of the St. Patrick's Day parade that happened in Scranton, which I did attend this year, and I have attended for a very long time, since high school. Very fun. Around here, if you're from Northeast Pennsylvania, there's like a rumor that circulates that that is one of the biggest parades in the country. And then when you grow up, you realize that's not true. But for us, it felt like it was the biggest ever. The parade was so fun always. A lot of people never make it to the parade. That's the thing. There's also the hill section there. The college kids hang out. Used to be an old part of Scranton. Now it's just like off-campus living for the University of Scranton and Marywood. And it's just like a party area. But the biggest party day is the St. Patrick's Day parade day. So it's chaos, you know. All the yards are mud. There's thousands of people partying. Cops are going up and down the road with horses, and undercover cops arresting people. It's a fun time. But there's like 4 tiers of people that attend this parade. Like number 1 is the underage kids that are in like high school or college that are there to drink. They can't go to a bar, so they're just at these house parties. That's one tier. And then there's the second tier, which is the 21-year-olds that can drink. I'd say this is like about 21 to 27. Anything after that, it gets weird. Once you're like 28, 29, 30, and you're still going to parade day drinking, it gets it's off-putting, you know. But there's that group. The third group is the group I entered, which is the people that start a family and then bring their children to the parade, which felt weird, you know. It's a weird transition to be in the third tier, but 100% better. I definitely prefer it. I hung out at Picardo Jewelers, a sponsor of the show. My good friend, the owner, Alex, generously let us park our car at his establishment and then watch the parade, surrounded by lots of good people. And it was nice, and it was wholesome, and it was good. And we had a great time. It was just different in a more mature, better way than being like blackout drunk, walking down the street wearing beads, and everybody judging you. That's no shame on that, but it is different. You know what I'm saying? It's different. And then the fourth tier is the older people, like elderly people that genuinely just enjoy watching the parade. They don't even necessarily drink. It's a big drinking day, of course, but they don't really drink. They just enjoy the parade. They like seeing the Shriners, somebody riding a unicycle, juggling. Like they enjoy things like that. And those are the 4 tiers of a parade, or the Scranton Parade Day, to be more specific. And I got to see it. I got to graduate to the 3rd tier, which was interesting, I will say. Very nice parade, very nice everything. Can't complain. Really fun day yesterday. And it was sandwiched between these 2 ominous days, Friday the 13th, which was the COVID anniversary, and the Jason Voorhees thing, right? Friday the 13th, yeah. And then we have the parade, which was fun. And then the bun of the sandwich is today, the Ides of March. And it was nice to have that little break away from all the madness of current events and enjoy a parade and catch a couple pieces of candy and some beads and watch the horses and the floats and all that fun. That was good. And now we're back to it. Here we are. Ides of March. What's going on in the world? Who knows? We're going to get right into it. I want a quick episode today because it's draining to keep talking about this nonsense. But someone's got to do it. I'm the cowboy in the basement, so don't want to disappoint. Sorry it's late. I had a busy weekend, as you know. Anywho, is Bibi Netanyahu dead? Is he dead? It may appear that he is. Or something is terribly wrong. He hasn't been on TV, social media, anywhere in the past 6 days. They're putting out AI videos of him where he has 8 fingers and it looks wrong. You can't get away with stuff anymore unless it's perfect. People called that out real quick that it was AI. So if he's not addressing the nation and his people and the world, and they're putting out AI videos, that would make one infer that possibly, hypothetically, maybe, perhaps he is dead. Some countries are reporting that he is. We are not. Obviously, for good reasons. It would kind of derail the whole situation a bit, don't you think? If the two nations that started the war on Iran, if one of the leaders of those nations is dead, not good. So keep an eye on that. It might even come out by the time this episode airs. It's probably going to be out Sunday night. So you know how quick things are. Things change every second. So I might already be late, but just wanted to let you know that is a possibility. And the effects of that being true would shake the world. I could tell you that. Definitely change the game a bit. Speaking of us, the United States of America, we just ordered 2,500 Marines with a Navy battleship to head to the Middle East. Not good. One step closer to boots on the ground, of course. And if you didn't see this coming, here's how you could have known this was going to happen inevitably if you didn't already know this. Pete Hegseth, talk about him a lot. He spent $22 million on steak and lobster in 1 month. So he spent $22 million in 1 month, getting everybody well fed, getting the military well fed, and if you know this, people in the military watching this know this, the food is always better when a war is coming. That's the old saying, that's the old stereotype. If the food is good in the mess hall, that means we're probably going to go to war. And it doesn't get much better than steak and lobster, am I right? And they go, well, I hope you enjoyed the surf and turf. Now it's time to go to war. We need 2,500 Marines on this battleship now. Now, you could have your opinion on this. I told you mine last week. I'm just telling you the developments of what's going to happen. But what I said is still true. This will be World War III. It already is, in my opinion, but they're going to start calling it that soon. Now they're calling it the Iran War. So Pete Hegseth was so generous to do a press briefing about the Iran War and the status of what's going on. And of course, very dehumanizing language. I felt it was very Nazi-like. Everything he does is kind of Nazi-like, to be honest, but he was very odd the way he talked on that press briefing. And it should be alarming to people watching it, but I don't think it is. I think people are so desensitized to everything that they just blow things off that would otherwise be very shocking. For example, he said the new leader, which is Khamenei's son, is wounded and probably disfigured. Okay. Him being the new leader is problematic for a myriad of reasons. Number one, his whole family just got murdered by the United States, and I don't think he's going to want to negotiate peacefully with the United States, knowing that that just happened to his family. You know what I'm saying? It might make him more emboldened to be radical and to develop a nuke and to attack the United States. So, again, this doesn't work. Regime change never works. Definitely doesn't work when it's the son of the family you just murdered. He's Hegseth now was talking about the new leaders in the high command, the inner circle of the new leader. They're all hiding underground. He said, yeah, because that's what rats do. So he's calling these Iranians rats. Now, these members of the Iranian government, of course, calling them rats. That is right out of the Nazi playbook. You know, the Nazis would call Jews rats. You know this. So that's not good. That's problematic language. You know what I'm saying? That's not it's not going to do us any good to calm down the tension. It's going to fan the flames a bit. You know this. He talked about the Iranian military being almost gone, that the U.S. Israel combo team took out about 15,000 targets in Iran. That's what he went on to say. It was kind of braggadocious, too. And he praised the U.S. and their relationship with Israel. He said that was a big thing. He couldn't talk enough about how valuable the relationship is between America and Israel, which you know. He didn't talk much about the school that was hit in Iran. Now, I heard many different things about this school, that it was on top of where there was an underground base at one point. I don't know if any of that's true, but I can tell you that 160 people were killed, mostly all of them children. Trump talked about this on 3 different occasions. The first time he was asked about this, he blamed Iran for doing it to themselves. The next time he blamed somebody else. And then the third time he said, I don't know about this. I don't know enough about this. I don't know what you're talking about. So again, not good. The propaganda that is going on with this war is unlike anything I've ever seen. And you need to be noticing this. If you aren't, I encourage you to pay closer attention. But this is next level propaganda. Social media, TikTok, the president and the White House personal social media pages. You should see the stuff they're putting up. And again, this is like when I said Trump is like an abusive relationship. Like 1 minute he's funny, 1 minute he's bombing parts of the world. They're making these edits with like rock and pop music, and it's like to appeal to the youth and to appear cool and edgy. Like I saw one, they're playing Freebird, like the guitar solo, and they're like bombing Iran. Like, I don't know. They're making a lot of these propaganda videos. They've been doing it for a while now, like memes and like edits, like that you would see on Instagram, like edgy Instagram. But the one that took the cake was like this meme. It was like the bowling graphics in the early 2000s. Like if you went to bowl at a bowling alley and you got a strike, and they had these like odd, poorly animated, early 3D, like primitive animations of like the pins getting taken out in a funny way. They did that with Iran. And this isn't, it's not funny, but it is. But it's crazy that the White House approved that, like the official White House page. Like, someone did this and they went, yep, do it. Probably even Trump said, yep, do it. He might even came up with the idea. I would love to know who's running the social media pages. And I would love to know if it's like Barron, like Trump's son. Probably is. But yeah, that's odd propaganda. We've seen propaganda before, but I don't think we've ever seen like memes being used as propaganda. And this is contemporary for us, so you might not think about this, but this will be studied in the history books one day. The first meme to be used as political propaganda will be notable. And I do think we owe that credit to Trump. Not to mention, in like the same week as this World War III begins, Trump is like endorsing Jake Paul as a politician in Kentucky. Now, I'm not even getting into that, but just think about that sentence. in the context of what's going on, and then you'll also be very confused. And if you're not, again, you need to wake up. So this propaganda we're seeing, again, I said this a few episodes ago, seems very fascist, meaning Nazi-like, being very pro-military and pro-force, and you hear all these people like, oh, Trump is Hitler. But I'm going to tell you, Trump is too old to be Hitler. So you need to think of something else, what's going on. You have to hypothesize where this is going to lead to. I get that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it flies like a duck, it's probably a duck. But he's not going to be the guy. He's 80 years old. But they are doing all this fascist stuff. Like I mentioned before, here's some new ones. The 250th anniversary of the country, they are redesigning some of the coins, and they're putting out a new dime. And if you know, like on our seals and our dollars and certain flags and our iconography of America, there's always an eagle holding an olive branch, a symbol of peace, and arrows, a symbol of war. On this new dime, the eagle literally does not have the olive branch anymore. He like dropped it, and it just has the arrows, signifying a time of war only and the time for peace being over. Some may say that's how I interpreted it. I think it's pretty clear. So why all this fascist stuff if the leader, which is a key component to fascism, is not going to be there? It's not going to get to the mountaintop with everyone. Is it going to be J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance is a empty vessel. He becomes whoever possesses him, and what possesses him is money. And it appears to be big tech is behind J.D. Vance. That's the batteries that run the robot, is the big tech industry, and some other problematic ones, but mostly big tech. But he's not a charismatic guy like Trump. Trump is like once every 100 years a guy like that appears, for good or for worse, I don't know if J.D. Vance is that guy, and I'm willing to bet, my opinion, I'm going to say he's 100% not that guy. So where does this go? And what's the point behind this? You always have to be thinking, where does this go? We can look at the other side of the spectrum. That's the fascist side that I just explained. There's also the communist side. Those are the two radical ends of the spectrum. And fortunately, we get to look at a microcosm of a macrocosm. We get to see a little focus group of what communism would look like in America, thanks to the New York City mayor, Zoran Mamdani. Mamdani is, a democratic socialist, right? That's what they say. That's like dipping a toe into the communism. They always say democratic socialist, which is really just a socialist, which ultimately becomes communist. Now, this guy, we talked about him before, pretty radical in his own way, globalized the Intifada. He says all that stuff. He's obviously a Muslim. He's pro-Palestine, pushes communist views. He's all over the place, though, too, because he's kind of they're all plants. I don't know how to put this, but he's like a plant, too. And I'll get to that more, but he's under fire a little now. Came out that his wife celebrated October 7th. She was liking these pages on social media that were celebrating the attack on Israel. Not a good look, but he completely doubled down. He goes, I don't control what my wife does. We're very private people. Her opinions don't affect my ability to govern. Crazy answer. Imagine applying that anywhere else. It would never work. It's like, well, it's just my wife. It doesn't matter what she said. Yeah. Okay. Besides that, he ran on this dreamer campaign. I don't even know what you could call it. A lot of utopia. He ran on Kumbaya land. He ran on free buses, free childcare, free grocery stores, government-run grocery stores, free rent. We're going to freeze all the rent and refigure out how much we're going to charge you. And free housing and free tuition. Remember, he ran on all that. And then there was couple of these fake grocery stores opened up. I think they were like a crypto promotion. They're like, look, the free grocery stores are working. And they weren't even real. It was like North Korea, like facade grocery stores. It was very interesting. But it didn't work at all. But about a week after he won, he was like changing his tune. He goes, well, actually, we're going to have to raid these funds and we're going to have to raise taxes and gut certain programs. And you're going to have to pay more. Okay. And now there's like a mass exodus out of New York. Everyone's leaving. Well, the middle class are leaving. And the rich will soon leave because where do you think the money comes from when you do socialism or communism? It comes from the rich, and then you give it to the poor, and then there's no more rich to take from, and then the state controls you. I mean, they teach this in 7th grade. People forget, though. But it appears that Mandami and his policies are a complete failure as of now. And there are some things that are just insulting. Like, for example, like the snowball fight, like people were pelting cops with snowballs and he downplayed that. He goes, it was just a snowball fight. And then it snowed a lot. And you got to remember, this guy ran on the idea. He endorsed the idea that you don't need an ID to vote, because he's one of these radical liberals. You know this. He goes, you don't need an ID to vote. But he goes, we got a lot of snow and we need people to come help shovel the snow because I guess New York City doesn't make enough in taxes to have, I guess, professionals deal with snow removal. So they want like every Joe Schmo to pick up a shovel and shovel 1.5 feet of snow off the sidewalk. But he goes, you could do it and we'll pay you, but you have to bring 2 forms of ID. So you need 2 forms of ID to shovel snow, but you don't need any ID to vote. This is what I'm saying. They really don't stand for anything. There's no plot. It's all fake plants. It's actually insane. Now that's your recap on Mandami. Let's go to just the other day. Union Square has a vigil, literally, for the Iran Supreme Leader Khamenei and others. But it's a vigil to mourn him and these wars in the Middle East, in Iran. There are framed pictures of him, of the Supreme Leader, Khamenei, with candles. And these people are mourning him in New York City. Most of the people at this event are Muslim and radical liberals. But they're there, and there's death to America chants in some videos. There's some radical stuff being said, anti-Israel, anti-America stuff. Obviously, people they have strong opinions about this. There's paid protesters there, of course. I don't even care to even bring that up anymore because the agent provocateur thing has been proven time and time again. These people are literally on payrolls. Like, there's printed signs that show up. They organize. They have groups. They talk on Signal. They talk on social media, Facebook groups. Like, it's not even that secretive. And anyone could do it. You just have to be good at disrupting and have not much going on in your life where you could just spend your whole day being obnoxious. As long as there's cameras rolling, you could make people believe there is some credibility behind a group, even though there really isn't. And that's what they're needed for, But that's going on. Kind of nuts to see in New York City, I will say. Mandami also hosted the first Ramadan prayer in City Hall. Now, that's fine and good. But if you saw it, they're doing the prayer mats on the ground, the kubsa on the ground, eating with the hands. New York City, City Hall, call to prayer. It's Islamic, Again, I like all cultures. I had friends that were Muslim, and I had kubsa dinners before. I thought it was awesome. It's very good. Good food. You eat with your hands. It's different. You give it a shot. You try it. New York City does call to prayer over loudspeakers all day, even in Times Square. Many cities across America do that too now. And like I said, these things don't happen overnight, but they slowly chip away until the norm is changed. Now, the reason I say Mamdani is like some sort of plant, it's because he probably is. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me put it this way. His mom, what's her name? Mira Nair? I probably butchered the name. I'm sorry. But she was a film director, like a world-known film director. And she has some connection to Epstein and Maxwell. Look that up. I don't know if that's 100% proven, but I'm pretty sure it is. There's some connection there. And nothing happens by accident. You think this guy just randomly woke up one day and became the mayor? No. The funding and the support and the connections behind him got him there. Even like the Jewish communities in New York voted for him. Like 33% of Jewish people in New York voted for him. Do you really think that these Jewish people would vote for a Muslim mayor of New York City? I just don't believe that either. And the thing is, he's Muslim in some regards with the cult of prayer and all that. But then he's very he just opened this LGBTQIA office. Look that up, which is a direct contradiction to his faith. So I think he's just trying to please everyone. But a part of him is he's a communist, and then he's Islamist, and he wants to spread Muslim culture all over the world and spread Islam. And then the next minute he's worried about trans rights, and the next minute free grocery store. And see what happens when you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. When it's just pleasing everyone, of course you're going to agree with the guy that wants to please everyone. It's like a guy who's friends with everyone. Obviously, they're not really friends with everyone, but they put on a face every time they're around certain people. That's kind of what's going on with the left. And Mamdani is a great example of that. But here is the craziest thing I'm going to end on, speaking of Mamdani in New York. To end this, the confusion of all this, Jake Lang, we bring him up all the time on the show, Jan 6 protester, raided the Capitol, got out. A lot of people believe he's an actor, agent provocateur. He's everywhere. He's always doing something radical for clicks. Anyways, he's in New York doing some Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City protest. It was called something like that. He's out there in his normal garb. He wears the vest, the military vest. You know this guy. You had to see him. There was only about 20 protesters with him, too. But about 100 counter-protesters showed up to go against what he was saying. They were defending the Muslim population in New York, and they were against Jake Lang, of course. And as these counter-protesters were defending Muslims, these two Muslim men from Pennsylvania, oddly enough, throw a homemade bomb, an IED, they called it, over the shoulder of this counter-protester with a megaphone defending Islam. As he's talking, they throw this bomb over his shoulder, and thankfully it failed to go off. Or it went off and it didn't hurt anyone, or it was a dud. And thank God everyone lived. But they had these bombs, these I don't know, what do you want to call them? When someone throws a bomb, you would probably call that a terrorist, They were hoping it went off, Let's not pretend that's not the point of a bomb. But that happened. It's just kind of ironic to me that these guys show up and they're defending. They're like, there's nothing to worry about. It's like, what are you talking about? And then I don't know where this guy jumps over his shoulder and throws an IED. But then this is where we're doomed. Mamdani talks about this and issues a statement, and he opens it up by condemning the white supremacists and the Islamophobics. He didn't condemn the terrorists, only a little. He was like, well, they were wrong too. And then the news, you should have saw the CNN article. They were like, 2 young men from PA were hoping to enjoy the nice weather in New York. But then the day took a turn for the worse when they threw an IED at anti-Islam protesters. That's literally how they framed it. That's what's going on. So I don't know where this all goes from here. Everything is we're all just cats with a laser pointer. Just follow this, follow that, follow this, follow that. And they want you to be so tribal and to pick a side. You're either left or right, you're with me or against me. But it seems like the Trump side is a fascist regime that wants to start World War III. Not kidding. And then the left is neo-communists that stand for nothing and cater to every marginalized group in order to get support and have more power. Those are like your only two options. So I don't want people to be like, well, you should vote this way now because you don't support that. Or no, it's all of them. They're all bad in their own way. It's like, do you want to eat vomit flavored ice cream or shit flavored ice cream? That's what we're doing now, defending either side. So I don't know where we go from here as a country. I really don't. I'm just sitting back and watching. I don't know what's next. I don't know what could possibly happen next. But it is getting odd, It is getting odd. You have crazy takes on each side. Like Hegseth is talking about Armageddon, and he's telling his generals to pump up the soldiers, talking about the anointed one. We have that Strait of Hormuz. If that doesn't open up soon, the oil's going to be a big component of the end here. I think it's 20% of the world's oil supply goes through that Strait of Hormuz. Hope I said that right. And that's still all locked up. Iran is hanging on to that. That could be a detail or a factor that changes within the next 24 hours. Who knows? But there's no better side. They're all bad. And it's kind of sad. So the moral of the story is you could pay attention to all that, or you could just enjoy a parade when it comes to your town. And that's what I did. And that's why I had a fun weekend. Enjoy the parade while it's there. That's it. We could pay attention to this all we want. We have no effect on it. And we can't change any of this. You could notice and talk about it, though. That's it. That's about it for now, until one of those radical systems of government, fascism or communism, stops us from talking about it. And which one that will be, it's a coin toss. It's a 250th anniversary dime without the olive branch coin toss at the end of the day. So pick your poison. That's pretty much it. This episode is brought to you in part by Three Shades Barbershop and Jack's Pub and Eatery, located in historic downtown Jessup, Pennsylvania. And most importantly, Picardo Jewelers. Again, thank you so much, Alex, for your hospitality and for the fun day, for the fun parade viewing experience. I'll be back next week. Who knows what's going to happen by the time this airs? You know how fast pace everything is now. But look, enjoy the parade, enjoy a crab cake, have a Guinness, have one of these, a coconut seltzer water, not bad. And don't worry about it, Find peace in your own little world and realize that it's a big club and we ain't in it. Stay curious, my friends. Good night.